Imagine this scenario. It is a sequence of events you have likely performed hundreds, perhaps thousands of times. You open the refrigerator door, the cool air washing over you. You reach for a container, Tupperware, glass, it doesn't matter. Inside lies the residue of yesterday's dinner. Perhaps it is a lean chicken breast, a savory spinach stew, or a few roasted potatoes. It looks harmless. It looks like nutrition. You place it in the microwave, punch in 2 minutes, and wait for the familiar hum. You believe you are being economical. You believe you are being health conscious. But stop. Freeze that moment. What if I told you that inside that microwave, a silent, invisible, and violent chemical warfare is taking place? What if I told you that by the act of applying secondary, aggressive thermal radiation to specific molecular structures, you are not warming up your food? You are fundamentally altering its biochemistry. You are turning medicine into poison. We need to have a serious, high-level conversation about thermal processing and food chemistry. This is not about internet rumors or fear-mongering. This is about thermodynamics, enzymatic degradation, and the physiological consequences of ingesting compounds that your body no longer recognizes as food. The medical community often speaks in hushed tones about lifestyle factors, but let's be specific. We are talking about the burden of toxins. We are talking about inflammation, not the acute kind that heals a cut, but the chronic low-grade systemic fire that burns through your vascular system and your neural pathways. I am Dr. James Thompson, and today we are going to dissect the molecular reality of your leftovers. We are going to look at 5 specific foods that, due to their unique chemical composition, react volatilely to reheating. We are going to explore the biology of digestion, the aging gut, and the terrifying link between what happens in your kitchen and what happens in your brain years down the line. This is the science of safety. This is the protocol for longevity. Let's begin with the first offender. This one impacts the fitness community, the Weight Watchers, and almost every household in the modern world. Food number 1, chicken and the protein denaturation paradox. Chicken is the gold standard of lean protein. It is muscle tissue, comprised of long, complex chains of amino acids folded into specific 3-dimensional structures. When you cook a raw chicken breast for the first time, you initiate a process called denaturation. Heat energy vibrates the molecules, breaking the weak hydrogen bonds that hold the protein structure together. The proteins unfold and coagulate. This makes the meat opaque and firm. Crucially, this primary denaturation makes the proteins accessible to your digestive enzymes, pepsin in the stomach and trypsin in the small intestine. However, chicken has a very high density of protein compared to other meats. When you take that cooked chicken, refrigerate it, and then subject it to a second round of intense thermal radiation, especially the chaotic oscillating waves of a microwave, you trigger a secondary chemical reaction that is disastrous for digestion. This is known as oxidative modification of proteins. You are not just heating the chicken, you are stripping electrons from the amino acids. The protein strands do not just get hot, they tighten, they cross-link. Imagine a rope that has been knotted. Primary cooking loosens the knot so you can use the rope. Reheating it tightens that knot so securely that it becomes a hard, indigestible lump. Why is this dangerous? Because your stomach acid, hydrochloric acid, and your proteolytic enzymes act like keys designed for specific locks. When you alter the geometry of the protein through reheating, the key no longer fits the lock. The result is twofold. First, you get incomplete digestion. Large, undigested protein peptides travel down to the colon. There, they do not feed you. They feed the pathogenic bacteria in your microbiome. This putrefaction process releases metabolic waste products like ammonia and hydrogen sulfide, causing bloating and gas. Second, and far more concerning, is the formation of cholesterol oxidation products, COPS. Chicken contains lipids and cholesterol within the muscle fibers. Upon reheating, especially in an oxygen-rich environment like a microwave, these lipids undergo peroxidation. COPS are chemically distinct from normal cholesterol. They are angiotoxic, meaning they are toxic to your blood vessels. Clinical research suggests that oxidized cholesterol is a primary driver of atherosclerosis, hardening of the arteries, because it is more readily absorbed by macrophages in your arterial walls, leading to foam cells and plaque buildup. Now consider the aging body. If you are over 50, your parietal cells in the stomach produce less hydrochloric acid, a condition known as hypochlorhydria. You already have a reduced capacity to break down proteins. By feeding your body reheating hardened, cross-linked chicken proteins, you are imposing a massive metabolic tax on a system that is already slowing down. You are asking your body to run a marathon with a backpack full of rocks. The connection to the brain is direct. The gut is the second brain. When your gut struggles with undigested proteins and oxidized lipids, it sends distress signals via the vagus nerve directly to the brainstem. This manifests as brain fog, lethargy, and over time, neuroinflammation. The solution? It is elegant in its simplicity. Eat your leftover chicken cold. By consuming it cold, the protein structure remains in its stable, cooked state without the secondary cross-linking and oxidation. Shred it into a salad. Slice it for a sandwich. Your stomach will digest it with ease, your arteries will be spared the oxidative stress, and your energy levels will remain stable. Food number 2, spinach and the nitrosamine nightmare. Now we move to the plant kingdom. Spinach, Popeye's fuel, a superfood loaded with iron, folate, and vitamin K. But spinach possesses a chemical duality that borders on the Jekyll and Hyde. Spinach, along with celery, beetroot, and lettuce, is naturally high in inorganic nitrates, NO3. In their natural state, nitrates are inert and actually beneficial. When you chew fresh spinach, commensal bacteria in your mouth convert nitrate into nitrite, and subsequently, your body converts nitrite into nitric oxide. No. Nitric oxide is a miracle molecule. It is a vasodilator that relaxes blood vessels, lowers blood pressure, and improves oxygen flow to the brain. However, this delicate chemical pathway is hijacked when you introduce the variable of time plus heat. If you cook spinach and then let it cool slowly, or store it for a day, and then blast it with heat again, you accelerate a different chemical reaction. The nitrates convert prematurely into nitrites. While nitrites are used to cure meats, high concentrations in a vegetable dish are problematic. But the real terror begins when you ingest these high levels of nitrites along with the proteins in your meal. In the acidic environment of your stomach or under high heat conditions, these nitrites react with amines, derivatives of ammonia present in proteins, to form N-nitroso compounds, specifically nitrosamines. Nitrosamines are not nutrients. They are classified as Group 2A carcinogens by the International Agency for Research on Cancer. They are compounds capable of damaging DNA, specifically causing alkylation of DNA bases, which can lead to mutations. This is not a myth. This is organic chemistry. The blue baby syndrome, methemoglobinemia, is the acute version of nitrite toxicity, where nitrite binds to hemoglobin and prevents it from carrying oxygen. While adults are less unmatched to this acute suffocation than infants, the chronic microdosing of nitrosamines via reheated high nitrate vegetables creates a long-term oxidative stress environment. Furthermore, recent studies in neurobiology have begun to look at the impact of nitrosamines on the brain. We know that insulin resistance in the brain, often called type 3 diabetes, is a precursor to Alzheimer's. Oxidative stress and inflammation caused by dietary toxins like nitrosamines contribute to the breakdown of the blood-brain barrier, BBB. Once that barrier is compromised, the brain is vulnerable to the systemic inflammation raging in your body. Imagine the scenario. You cook a healthy spinach soup Sunday night. You reheat it Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. By Wednesday, you are not eating spinach. You are eating a nitrite-heavy sludge that turns into a carcinogenic cocktail in your gut. The protocol here is strict. Treat spinach with the respect its chemistry demands. Cook only what you will consume in one sitting. If you must have leftovers, eat them cold. Do not subject those nitrate bonds to a second thermal agitation. If you add spinach to an omelet, cook it fresh. Your DNA integrity is worth more than the 5 minutes you save by reheating a pot of soup. Food number 3, eggs and the sulfur cascade. The egg, nature's multivitamin, a perfect protein source containing all 9 essential amino acids, choline for the brain, and healthy fats. Yet, the egg is chemically volatile because of its sulfur content. Eggs are rich in sulfur-containing amino acids like methionine and cysteine. This is why overcooked eggs smell distinctively like sulfur. When you cook an egg, the heat causes the proteins to uncoil and bond, trapping water in a network. This is coagulation. When you reheat an egg, particularly a boiled or scrambled egg, you are subjecting these sulfur bonds to extreme stress. The reheating process drives out the moisture, causing the protein lattice to tighten aggressively. This makes the egg rubbery, which is the tactile sensation of protein cross-linking. But chemically, you are facilitating the liberation of hydrogen sulfide and the oxidation of the egg yolk's fats. The yolk is rich in polyunsaturated fatty acids and cholesterol. As we discussed with chicken, reheating oxidized cholesterol creates oxysterols. Oxysterols are nasty compounds. They are cytotoxic, toxic to cells. They induce inflammation in the endothelial lining of your blood vessels. But let's look at the digestion aspect. The rubbery, reheated egg protein is incredibly difficult for trypsin and chymotrypsin, your digestive enzymes, to hydrolyze. When undigested sulfur-rich protein reaches the large intestine, it becomes a feast for sulfur-reducing bacteria. These bacteria produce hydrogen sulfide gas. In small amounts, this is normal. In large amounts, hydrogen sulfide is a mucosal irritant. It damages the protective lining of the gut, contributing to leaky gut or intestinal permeability. A permeable gut allows toxins and undigested food particles to enter the bloodstream. The immune system tags these particles as invaders and launches an attack. This is the definition of systemic inflammation. And where does inflammation hit hard? The brain. Neuroinflammation is the silent killer of memory. It activates microglia, the immune cells of the brain. When microglia are chronically activated by systemic inflammation signals, they stop cleaning up neural debris, like beta amyloid plaques, and start attacking healthy neural synapses. So, when you rubberize that leftover omelet in the microwave, you aren't just ruining the texture. You are creating a gut environment that favors inflammation over absorption. The rule for eggs: fresh is king. An egg takes 3 minutes to cook. There is no efficiency argument that justifies reheating an egg. If you boil eggs for meal prep, keep them in their shell and eat them cold. The shell protects the fatty acids from oxidation, and the cold protein structure, while denatured, remains digestible. Never, ever microwave a cooked egg. Food number 4, potatoes and the bacterial bunker. The potato is often misunderstood. It is a source of potassium and energy. But the potato is the protagonist in one of the most dangerous food safety stories in medical history: botulism. This is not a chemical change caused by heat per se, but a biological hazard facilitated by improper thermal management. The bacterium Clostridium botulinum is ubiquitous in the soil. It forms spores that are incredibly resistant to heat. When you bake a potato, you kill the active bacteria, but the spores can survive. Here is the fatal error. You wrap the potato in aluminum foil to bake it. Then you leave it on the counter to cool down because you cooked too many. Inside that foil, you have created a perfect anaerobic, oxygen-free environment. You have moisture, you have a warm temperature as it cools slowly. This is the exact condition required for the C. botulinum spores to germinate and begin producing botulinum toxin. Botulism is a neurotoxin. It blocks the release of acetylcholine, the neurotransmitter responsible for muscle contraction. It causes paralysis. While full-blown botulism is rare, low-level food poisoning from improper potato storage is common and often misdiagnosed as a stomach bug. But there is a second angle here involving starch. When a potato is cooked and cooled, the starch molecules undergo retrogradation. They recrystallize into resistant starch. This is actually a good thing. Resistant starch acts like a prebiotic fiber. It feeds good gut bacteria. However, if you take that retrograded starch and blast it in the microwave, you are not just destroying the beneficial resistant starch structure, you are often heating it unevenly. If any bacteria did proliferate during the cooling process, the microwave's cold spots will not kill them. You are eating a warm culture of pathogens. Furthermore, starchy foods reheated at high temperatures can produce acrylamide, a chemical compound formed from the reaction between sugars and the amino acid asparagine. Acrylamide is a known neurotoxin and a probable human carcinogen. The warning here is twofold: storage and reheating. Storage. Never let baked potatoes cool in foil at room temperature. Remove the foil immediately to let oxygen in, which stops the botulism bacteria, and refrigerate them rapidly if you aren't eating them. Consumption. If you want the benefits of resistant starch, which is excellent for blood sugar control and gut health, eat the potato cold in a salad. If you must reheat, use a skillet or an oven where the heat is uniform and sustained, ensuring any surface bacteria are destroyed, though this will convert the beneficial resistant starch back into a simple starch, spiking your blood sugar. For the aging demographic whose immune system undergoes immunosenescence, the gradual deterioration of the immune system, the risk of foodborne illness from improperly stored starch is significantly higher. Do not turn your kitchen counter into a petri dish. Food number 5, mushrooms and the enzymatic collapse. Mushrooms are fascinating. They are neither plant nor animal. They are fungi. Their cell walls are made of chitin, the same material as shrimp shells, and they contain very specific complex proteins and enzymes. Mushrooms are incredibly susceptible to enzymatic and microbial degradation. From the moment you harvest a mushroom, it is trying to break itself down. Cooking stops this, but reheating mushrooms is a recipe for gastrointestinal disaster. When mushrooms are reheated, particularly in a microwave, the complex proteins are essentially pulverized at a molecular level. They undergo rapid oxidation and hydrolysis. The protein composition changes into compounds that are incredibly difficult for the human gut to process. This leads to significant bloating, gas, and abdominal pain. It's not just indigestion, it is a sign that the food has become biochemically incompatible with your digestive enzymes. Moreover, mushrooms act like sponges. They absorb lipids and moisture. If you cooked them in oil, reheating them causes the oil to oxidize rapidly, rancidity. We are back to the issue of free radicals. Free radicals are unstable atoms that can damage cells, causing illness and aging. They are the rust of the biological world. Consuming oxidized fats and degraded fungal proteins puts a heavy load on the liver, your body's primary filtration system. If you are over 50, your liver function is precious. You want your liver detoxifying environmental pollutants and managing your hormones, not working overtime to neutralize the free radicals from your reheated mushroom risotto. The connection to the brain here is via the inflammatory pathway. A stressed liver releases inflammatory cytokines into the bloodstream. These cytokines can cross the blood-brain barrier and trigger neuroinflammation. It is all connected: the gut, the liver, the brain. The mushroom rule is absolute. Eat them fresh. Prepare only what you will eat. If you have leftovers, eat them cold. Cold marinated mushrooms are a delicacy in many cultures for a reason. They preserve the integrity of the food without the chemical violence of reheating. The synthesis. Why this matters now. You might be thinking, "Doctor, I've reheated pizza and chicken my whole life and I'm fine." This is the fallacy of the survivor. Biology is resilient, yes, but biology operates on thresholds. When you are 20, your enzymatic production is at its peak, your hydrochloric acid is strong, your gut lining is robust, and your antioxidant reserves are full. You can weather the storm of toxins. But as we cross the threshold of 50 or 60, those buffers wear thin. The damage is cumulative. It is the interest compound of inflammation. One reheated meal won't kill you, but a decade of daily dietary insults creates a chronic state of stress in the body. This chronic stress is the soil in which the diseases of aging take root. Alzheimer's, atherosclerosis, type 2 diabetes, autoimmune disorders, these are not inevitable. They are often the result of chronic low-grade inflammation and mitochondrial dysfunction. By changing how you handle these 5 foods, you are removing a daily source of toxic stress. You're closing the gates to nitrosamines, oxidized cholesterol, damaged proteins, and bacterial toxins. You are telling your body, "I am on your side." The action plan. Knowledge without action is merely entertainment. I need you to implement this protocol today. The cold protocol. Learn to love cold leftovers. Chicken, eggs, spinach, mushrooms. They are delicious cold. Your palate will adjust and your gut will thank you. The portion control. Cook for the meal, not for the week. Freshness is the ultimate nutrient. The storage discipline. No foil on the counter. Rapid cooling. Airtight containers. The reheating ban. If it's on this list, chicken, spinach, eggs, potatoes, mushrooms, the microwave is off limits. This is about taking control. We cannot control our genetics, and we cannot stop the passage of time, but we have absolute control over the chemistry we introduce into our bodies 3 times a day. I want you to make a commitment, not to me, but to your future self, to the you of 10 years from now who wants a sharp mind and a light body. If you have understood the gravity of this message, if you understand that the kitchen is a laboratory and you are the chief chemist, I want you to verify your commitment. Go to the comments section below. I read them. I want to see who is truly listening. Type the number 2, just the number 2. This is our code. It means I understand the 2 phases. Fresh is medicine, reheated can be poison. It means you are ready to protect your gut and your brain. And if you know someone, a parent, a partner, a child who lives on reheated leftovers, share this with them. You might be saving them from years of silent inflammation. We are building a community of health intelligence here. Do not let the habits of the past dictate the health of your future. Eat fresh, stay sharp, protect your biology. I am Dr. James Thompson. I will see you in the next video with more truth, more science, and more power for your health.